Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Statement Podcast. It's a podcast for investigations into miscellaneous tech topics.
This is episode 2 of The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleiman. We'd love to hear from you. Send your comments and feedback to team@thkp.co.
Hey, John. How are you doing?
Hello, Matt. Doing good.
So, what did you think of the combustion engine? You're from around Detroit.
I
this
am.
should have got into the cockles of your heart.
It definitely got in my cockles. I'm a big Detroit fan. I almost said I'm a big Henry Ford fan, but I guess he's kind of like a racist POS.
Canceled.
Yeah. I like the.
Try again next time.
I think it was Ragtime that had this like big section about him trying to pursue immortality. Like he was like searching ancient Egyptian ruins, trying to find like the elixir of life. And I don't know how true that is to Henry Ford's actual persona, but it was interesting. But anyway, that's
Dude, I always love to hear about when these like very famous people have these like insane ideas, like to hear about Newton and him doing like alchemistry or
yes.
like
these are like
the
you're talking about him doing trying to turn stuff into gold. Yeah, what do you call that?
into gold.
Yeah, it's not alchemy.
It's not
right?
alchemistry. Alchemy. Yeah.
Alchemy.
That's
Okay.
right.
Ben, my brain was telling me that alchemy was like a legit science, but yeah, alchemy is where you're trying to like turn stuff into gold, right? So it's
Yeah, and just like generally transmogrify matter, I think.
But anyway, back to the book. My favorite part of this car thing, because they're just basically this is the chapter that's discussing the endless proliferation of Homo technologicus, which we are Homo
Exactly.
sapiens, but we're also Homo technologicus, evidently, and we endlessly proliferate.
It's setting the I guess the like socioeconomic stage of like humanity and just how technology proliferates. And apparently it proliferates endlessly. As you
Yes.
said.
And he is building around this example of the combustion engine, which, that is a great example. It's like literally everything has combustion engines these days. And my favorite.
For how long? Who knows? We'll see.
Exactly. My favorite part about this, though, because he discusses Otto, Daimler, Maybach, Benz, all these like initial innovative people who were developing these engines. But he talks about this section where I want to say it was Benz's wife, or maybe it was Otto's wife, Bertha, stole the car, basically took this prototype without his, permission, and just drove across the countryside. And when she needed fuel, she would like stop at random apothecaries and just ask for solvent. And so she was like pouring this random like turpentine or something into, her 4-stroke engine vehicle. And I don't know, I just kind of found that hilarious and awesome.
Yeah, it was Benz's wife. And I think this was a publicity stunt. I think this was one of the first publicity stunts. Because he even kind of like teases that as a possibility.
Yeah.
Because he says she took it supposedly without his knowledge.
I know. It's like, are you kidding me? It just seems so, yeah. But it's amazing as a publicity stunt. It's like, what do you call that type of marketing? Guerrilla marketing, or it's an
guerrilla
interesting
marketing. Yeah.
But anyway, this
in
whole
the 1800s, pretty good.
This whole section was sort of a microcosm of how technology works for the human race, which is, these things get created, someone invents them, and no one really knows how useful they're going to be. No one really even the inventors don't really know what they're going to be used for. Sometimes inventors have like hilarious use cases for their inventions that never really come to pass. But then the invention sort of takes on this life of its own. Other people figure out how to do it. He even discusses these 4 separate guys, all of whom are household names today, and how they all sort of independently were building these engines, and they all are like huge figures in the auto business today. But just how this stuff proliferates. I mean, it goes back to the endless proliferation thing.
Well, it's interesting because he actually sets up this scene where in the first 7 years of, after having built this car, Benz sold 69 cars over 7 years. He's selling 10 cars a year.
Yeah.
And it was only, like you said, until Henry Ford, who kind of had this relentless efficiency. He said, for every dollar I take off my car, I get 1,000 new buyers, which we need more. I fell into the same trap. I was going to be like, we need more Henry Fords. But I'm just saying, I feel like we've lost a little bit of that, just ruthless, making it more affordable. It just feels like every business is predicated on just all right, we are going to leech as much money as we possibly can out of people.
Dude, I like this sort of thread because I was recently looking at all these rich people mansions. There's, I don't know, living in New York, there's these tours you can do where you go to the Vanderbilt house, and then you go to John D. Rockefeller's house. And obviously these things, they're all trying to make the lore of these people so incredibly positive that it's almost obviously false. But in the Rockefeller house, they discussed how he's sort of perceived as this horrible kind of jerk in some circles, but their sort of interpretation of him was he was just trying to make gas as cheap as possible, and that's why he was vertically integrating. He was buying the mines, buying the pumps, buying everything, and trying to ship things across the country so that he could produce it in a cheap place and then get it to a place where he could sell it for more, for more. And it's sure, you can look at those behaviors as total asshole billionaire behaviors, because they sort of are. But it's also he's just trying to make a product that everyone wants as cheap as possible. And that's what Henry Ford was trying to do.
And I guess if you think about it through the lens of the people who are charging high profits, charging more, of course they're going to be salty that this guy came in and undercut their prices.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's
who knows if he's tainted by those people.
Not to get political or anything, but you look at today's world with medicine, where I feel like the institutions in the United States are such that these cartels basically have full control to charge whatever they want for diabetes medicine. And in the world of these cutthroat business tycoons, if the laws were set up in such a way that a John D. Rockefeller could come in and sort of operate in this realm, they would just find a way to produce this medicine so cheaply and undercut the competition. And in a way, that's a good, it's market forces at work. It can be a good thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's rough, but
that's somewhat of a tangent.
So he kind of takes us through a tour of all of human history through the lens of what he says is general purpose technologies.
Yes. And he discusses...
And so go for it.
I just wanted to throw out... I thought this was a really interesting section where he talks about how general purpose tech becomes invisible. It becomes very, very pervasive, and there's these early phases where, everyone is talking about it, but then it just becomes this background thing that's sort of supporting all of humanity, but no one even, thinks about it. Like electricity. It's at one point, that was a new invention that people were losing their minds over. And obviously today, no one talks about electricity. It just is.
Dude, have you heard the word about this new technology? Language? Dude, it's going to be big.
Yeah. Actually, that was an interesting section too, where he sort of mentioned language itself as a technology, because it is. It very much is.
It is 100% a technology, yeah.
I wrote in my notes bicameral mind, Have you ever heard of this? This is like,
Dude,
it's somewhat of a weird.
enlighten me.
Actually, I think I learned about this in a Stuff You Should Know episode, which is a podcast that
Bicameral.
I think you told me about initially. But the bicameral mind is basically this hypothesis that conscious thought itself is a technology. Like basically, for a long time, humans were just kind of meandering around, more or less acting instinctively. You know, like something would happen, you know, they would see a woolly mammoth and they would be like, I should kill that. And they weren't really, they didn't really have this like thread of conscious thought, like introspection and, you know, sort of thinking outside of themselves. And this bicameral mind hypothesis is basically this theory that arose about 3,000 years ago. And it was a technology where it was just a new way of thinking where people could suddenly...
Only 3,000 years ago?
Yeah, well, it might be longer ago than that, but I think the example was Thucydides, which is like this ancient Greek historian, where in his writings, and also like in Homer's Odyssey, there's examples where this type of thinking like seems to be arising as these works are happening. Like, so as, you know, Homer's Odyssey is sort of being created, you know, because Homer's Odyssey was this story that was like passed down through bardic tradition. So as the story is being told from generation to generation, people are starting to refer to like, you know, the gods leaving, which actually this is this separate thing where before this bicameral mind hypothesis, people would think of these mental interventions as like gods just telling them what to do. Mm-hmm. You know, like if you're traveling along a road and there's like a huge rock in the road and you end up going around the rock, you wouldn't think of that as you consciously deciding to like go around the rock. You would think of it as like an angel sort of intervened and like told you about this new this new way of going around a rock. Anyway, it sounds like I'm high, but I wrote it down because it's just this interesting example. And for what it's worth, I don't necessarily think this is like a true hypothesis. I just think it's like a very interesting, you know, thought exercise. I don't think we could ever know if this is true or not, but it feels like it's potentially...
It's interesting because I think it's something... I think it's a continuum, like... And I could be wrong, but I feel like I remember someone talking about the idea of like people's ability to entertain hypotheticals.
Yes.
Has kind of like actually fairly recently developed, like within the last like 200. It's like if you were to talk to someone from like the 1700s and be like, imagine, if you will, that you're a baker. Like you're talking to a blacksmith and you're like, imagine if you're a baker. And he's like, I don't know what you mean. Like,
yes.
It's like you couldn't even imagine the idea, like the idea of considering a hypothetical, like just didn't even compute. And this feels like another extension.
It's like the natural extension of that, which I think you're absolutely correct. Like I think that's definitely true, that humans have become very advanced at like metaphor and sort of like, I don't know, double entendres, like things that just, if you were to go to the 15th century and like throw random metaphors at people, they'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? The sophistication of our thinking. Also, just like the idea of self and sort of like, I think a lot of these notions have become like very sophisticated in modern humans. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so in a way, bicameral mind is just a logical extension of that.
Right. Well, we talk about one point, which is you have strong opinions about agricultural revolution. You want to tell us about your thoughts about the agricultural revolution?
Hate it. It's the worst thing that ever happened. No,
big mistake. But see, this is the problem. One asshole was like, "Hey, maybe we should plant something," and you couldn't contain it after that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because in 100 years, when we are all slaves to AIs, and you know we'll be slaves in a good way. I don't think they'll like whip us on a daily basis or anything like that. Like, I think they'll just give us mangoes and stuff. But we will probably speak fondly of the AI revolution, because I've always thought that we always view change as positive, or at least like there's a certain way of thinking that's very prevalent that just views change itself as positive. And so I think in a lot of ways, I think that's sort of how a lot of people view the agricultural revolution, where it was obviously this huge change in the human race. Like, people were able to sit around and think for long periods of time, but they don't really discuss like all the negatives that came about, like the loss of sort of a lot of human ingenuity, a lot of like individual sort of, I don't know what to call it, but like there's a lot of people theorize
Autonomy,
that before sorry, what was it? What did you say?
Autonomy?
Autonomy, yeah. Just, before the agricultural revolution, when humans were more of a hunter-gatherer type species, every individual in the tribe was like this awesome, everyone could hunt, everyone could forage, everyone had all these abilities. And with the agricultural revolution, there came about this need for people who just like worked the field all day. And it was kind of
diversification, yeah.
Yeah. And I can't remember what the theory is called. I want to say it's like I think it's called the village idiot theory, but maybe I'm misremembering. But anyway, it's this idea that with the agricultural revolution came this ability for societies to kind of support all, like in the hunter-gatherer society, like the village idiot would just die. Like, they just wouldn't be able to hack it, and they would just get killed by something, which I'm not saying that's a good thing. But I'm just saying society completely changes, and you sort of have these different like factions that are able to arise, some good, some bad.
So, but it sounds like what you're saying is now the village idiot can exist. Like, this almost heralds the creation of the village idiot, because it's like, well, now he can just like, I guess, gnaw on some like stalk of corn in the corner without needing to like
which I feel
fight.
like I feel like I'm implying that that's a bad thing, which I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, I think I'm a big believer in societies that sort of take care of themselves and are able to support all the various needs of all the various individuals. I think the primary point is just that with these revolutions, things have a tendency to drastically change. Like, I actually think with the AI revolution, this notion of like a human thinker, like these high-powered humans who are like just geniuses, like really good at thinking, like I think that that's going to become less prevalent, because I think people are going to do less thinking. And that's just an example of how our societies might change and how some humans might end up actually living worse lives. Maybe most humans will live better lives because AI will bring this infinite wealth or whatever, but some humans will live less fulfilling lives, and they won't be able to sort of lean on the strengths that they have.
I think I see what you're saying. Like, and like, if you'll allow me to reframe and like check
Please.
if this is what your point is, but it's like, in a world where AI can think better than 99% of humans, like, humans are just going to think less, and they're going to atrophy in that ability, and that is going to be a loss on a personal level and on a societal level.
Yeah, we go from the village idiot theorem to the village of idiots theorem.
Yes, yes.
Where literally everyone will just be these kind of like autonomous drones, which maybe that's fine, maybe that's okay. But I just, this goes back to just viewing change as progress. Change is change. Like, it brings new things, it gets rid of old things, it makes it so some things suck.
Yeah. Well, my opinion is that the scope of humans' ambitions are just going to expand. Like, because and I watched actually a really good talk at I/O about the changes in engineering, and the guy was talking about the fact that like when he made an analogy to like trees and forests. It's like if you're building a tree, maybe you have time to like inspect every leaf, but like if you're building a forest, like you don't. And I'm definitely like messing up this, but like if you're like the steward of a forest, you're not gonna have time to like in detail inspect every single leaf in the forest. So like you need to kind of think about, and because what he's saying is like now the cost to generate code is so much lower.
Yeah.
Like reviewing code becomes the bottleneck, and he didn't have answers for all of these problems, but like essentially he was saying like, well, this is going to be the scaling limit, reviewing every single line of code, and now like maybe we need to come up with techniques that don't require human review of every single line of code.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting question.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's it is a testament to, to how these industries can just be like completely altered with one stroke of technological innovation. And I'm definitely feeling that. I mean, man, I feel like my life is just reviewing code these days. It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
But one important point in this chapter,
yeah.
He discusses how general purpose tech becomes invisible. But the other important point he makes is that general purpose tech, the development of general purpose tech is accelerating. Like
yes,
it used to be that, every 1,000 years humans would come up with general purpose tech, agricultural revolution, writing, language, these are mathematics, like these are technologies that humans developed, but over the course of thousands of years. Today, it's like, combustion engine or electricity, combustion engine, flight, internet, AI, it's just like it's happening every 5 to 10 years. And it's at a rate that I feel no one can really fully grapple with it. Because as Mustafa's pointing out, like these general purpose technologies completely reshape society, every single one of them. And so in a world where every 5 years you have another general purpose tech, and then with AI working on the Erdos problems, it's going to be like every 2 years we have a general purpose tech. All of those technologies completely reshaping society. Like, what is that going to look like? It's going to be insane.
Well, and this is, I think, why he wanted to draw the car as an example, because everything is being adopted. Like it took decades for the car to actually catch on, but now, yes, there's more general purpose technologies, and they're being adopted at a much more rapid pace.
Yeah.
If you think about ChatGPT, like it's like 100 million users over the course of like a month or whatever. I forget what the numbers are, but it's something insane like that.
Yes.
And actually, it's kind of interesting to think about, like, what does it mean when it's actually agents that are adopting technologies as opposed to humans?
Yeah.
Because that will amplify, that will magnify our ability to adopt these new technologies. Like, they're going to be created faster, and then AIs are going to be able to adopt them faster.
Right. And find really cool use cases for them and just immediately, like, implement them within the fabric of our society. It's gonna be a really wild world moving forward. Like, I think we truly are entering the future. The fact of this chapter, though, at least for me, I'm just gonna read this off. Transistors are now produced in the tens of trillions per second at billionths of a dollar per transistor. He talks about how when the transistor was first developed, one single transistor was like huge. It was like maybe the size of like 6 inches long, like kind of a capsule shape. And it cost like hundreds of dollars. And now they're being produced tens of trillions per second at billionths of a dollar per transistor. And they're absolutely microscopic. They're like atoms wide. And I just wanted to say
they're reaching kind of the limit of like they're getting to like the scaling limit of the universe in terms of like how big these are.
Yeah.
Like they can't be that many atoms wide at this point.
Exactly. Like they put more transistors on a chip and it'll immediately become a black hole. This is just too much crap there. There's a YouTube channel that I really like called Epic Spaceman. And he did a video where he like shrunk himself down to the size of a chip, like a GPU or whatever, and he was like flying around on the chip, and it was awesome. Like it's such a good video to kind of show like how fucking crazy this technology is.
Was that the collab with Marquez Brownlee?
Maybe,
Or
but
maybe
I probably just
misremembering it.
completely forgot about Marquez Brownlee because I was like so just enraptured with this like just description of these chips. There was actually a series of videos which I think I've mentioned. I feel like I'm just like shilling YouTube videos now, but there was that other Veritasium one about ASML, the Scandinavian country that like drops like blobs of like I don't know like, tin,
molten
yeah.
tin.
I almost said
Yeah.
tungsten, but I knew that was wrong. And then like zaps them with a laser at like 4 billion degrees so that they explode and like create this weird wavelength of light so that they can etch chips. Like the technology is utterly insane. Like it's when you hear about it, you're like, no, that's like something fucking Jules Verne is writing about. Like it just does not compute that there is an actual factory doing this. And it's with the precision
they need to create
of
this like extremely powerful photons of ultra UV light, high energy UV light.
Exactly. An exploding tin is like the one process.
That's the easiest way to do it, apparently.
Yeah.
And you had said about something about the precision.
Oh, yeah. Just that, because they're exploding this tin, just like you're saying, to produce this light so that they can etch a chip. And these chips are etched, just like we mentioned, atoms thick. So you need to explode this tin, which is a very chaotic process. But then you need to focus the light that's produced from exploding the tin down into this absolutely precise thing. We're talking like the width of a human hair, like on the moon, viewed from Earth or whatever. And it's just like, it's just completely unimaginable, like what humans have achieved. And it's amazing.
Yeah. No, dude. That is true. It is incredible. But like they keep on doing it. Like, and this is the thing. Like they've got new technologies that they're proliferating all over us.
Yeah. But maybe that's a good place to end. I mean, this chapter was just a good kind of reminder as to how amazing humans are at developing these innovations and then proliferating them across society.
Yeah, and then in the next chapter, we'll talk about can we actually contain them? Like, is there a way to stop the endless proliferation? Well, we'll talk about that next time.
All right. See you, Matt.
See you, John.